All right, folks, welcome back to episode 50 of the Ginge Ball Podcast. Let's go. Special episode today. We had a very newsworthy day today. First of all, we'll recap Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals, preview the NBA Finals, and then we'll get into some NFL trades. We had some blockbusters today with Myles, Garrett, and AJ Brown both getting dealt. But first, Beck, Ryan, how we doing, boys?
50 for the city. Big milestone for this podcast. Gotta say. Man, lot to get into today. I think you would have got a little bit more vitriol from me if we did this either like Saturday night or Sunday morning. But
Yeah.
I've had a couple days to compose my thoughts, so it's a little bit more coherent. But we're ready to get into Game 7, especially.
Yeah, Ryan.
Yeah, big weekend, big day today. Just excited. I'm with Beck. I think it would have been a little more hyperbolic if we did this earlier, but It's going to be good either way.
Special. Yeah, let's start with the Western Conference Finals. Obviously, an outcome that I think definitely surprised us. I know all three of us were on OKC and 7 in the series. I think we all had Spurs in Game 6, but them being able to win both those games just seemed a bit far-fetched considering what we'd seen out of Harper to that point physically in the previous couple games. But San Antonio able to get it done. Wemby special, neutralizes Chet, makes him forget how to shoot a basketball, Ben Simmons style. And here we are sitting here with Victor Wembanyama and the San Antonio Spurs in the NBA Finals against the Knicks. What did we see in that Game 7? Let's break it all down.
Hey, I'm gonna stop you right there real quick. I was pretty on the Spurs after Game 6. Like
After Game 6, but last time we podcasted, we all picked OKC and 7.
I hear you, but
we don't do revisionist history here.
It was a revisionist. I got it off before the buzzer or before
the game. Yeah.
So
yeah, you were on him before the game.
And yeah, but the reason I kind of switched sides, if you want to call it that, before the game was I was just moved by the amount of big runs the Spurs have been able to get off on in that series. Yeah. You saw some in Game 7 too, and the quick starts. Like they came out and they set the tone pretty much in every game. I feel like even the games they lost. Maybe Game 5 is the only one where you don't really see that, but yeah, let's get into what actually happened in Game 7. So I thought they came out. I had a bold prediction for the game that they were going to play eye hard off the court. I think that came pretty true. And a big part of that was Wemby, setting the tone, and they had him bringing the ball up. So that's a little bit of a adjustment they had. And he didn't have the juice to do that all game. But first 4 or 5 minutes, I think a big point of emphasis for them was to get iHeart off the court or deem him ineffective any way they could. So that was big. And then, the underrated part about Chet only having 2 field goal attempts in this game is that they both came within the first 2 minutes of the game. So he plays 32 minutes, and the last 30 minutes of the game, he doesn't even really look at the basket ever.
No.
So, yeah, I'll leave the Chet point a little later. I just want to go through some other things. I thought Fox in this game was massive, especially when OKC was making runs. That second quarter, Shea has the floor out. I forget how many points exactly Shea had in the second quarter, but that was when his shot making was at its highest in this game. And they take a 4-point lead with like a minute left, and Fox gets a bucket and then gets to the line, I'm pretty sure. And then they had another stretch in the third quarter where he got a bucket and then he forced OKC to use their last challenge. So those 2 points of the game, Fox settled things down. I thought that was massive. Now with the other guard play, I thought Harper off the bench was incredible. Thought Castle's defense was incredible. For the guard play for them, I think they got everything from all 3 of those guards that you could have asked for. It's probably cohesively between the 3, like their best game altogether. And then lastly, they were able to survive the non-Wemby minutes. And obviously the Cornet 2016 LeBron block is like in everybody's heads. And yeah, that's one of the craziest plays I've seen live, but just his ability to be effective enough where they won the Wemby minutes, correct? The non-Wemby minutes.
Yeah, the non-Wemby minutes. Yeah, I believe so. This was the best bench game they had in the series, I think.
Comfortably.
And Game 6, they were able to win the non-Wemby minutes as well. But to hold that over in OKC where, their role players, seem to get a boost, that's incredible. For OKC side, what I was really disappointed by, besides Chet, because I feel like we'll all talk about that in a little bit. I thought Caruso played
Yeah,
the worst Caruso game I've seen in a long, long time. Like when we've really had Caruso in the limelight, that's the worst game I've seen him play. Looked like 2022 Dylan Brooks out there. Like that's the point I mentioned a couple of times. I mean, just erratic, and he seemed like he felt like he had to go out and look for a shot because
yeah,
Chet wasn't, because there wasn't any other offensive creators out there. And just a lot of times when he's pushing it on the fast break, it's like a 1-on-2, 1-on-3. And he's just throwing up bullshit like at the end of the day, and that really hurt them. And his defense really like didn't stand out at all in this
no,
game either. So worst Caruso game I've seen in a while. And then Casey Wallace, I thought, made this game
he was
respectable.
great. Yeah,
Without him, especially in that fourth, this game ends up probably being like 15 to 20 point deficit. So his post game comments, I like that he stood on that, and
yeah.
he pretty much demanded a bigger offensive role, and I think that's something to watch going forward.
Yeah, he'll also, interestingly for Kaysen, he's also a restricted free agent after next season. So he can, I mean, obviously there's some club situation there, but he can kind of
Yep.
test the market a little bit coming up. So yeah, Ryan, anything you noticed in this game?
Yeah, I thought on the Wemby side of it all, I thought like you really saw his defensive value was very much there in this game. I mean, it always is, but it it solidified to me like he is like the best defensive player like I think I've ever seen.
Yep.
Which is crazy to say, but I think it's true at this point. I mean, we've never seen someone of his size and the mobility and his mentality defensively ever. His defense is otherworldly good. And then on the OKC side, one thing I would say is that I thought they should have gone to McCain way more in the second half. I thought he was very important to them getting back in the game in the second quarter. Once we got close to halftime and it seemed like the Thunder were about to take control, and this is a good point to Beck's point about Fox, is I remember texting like, wow, we got to get this half like ASAP or like this could get ugly. And then Fox just kind of steadied him right before half to bring him in. And I think they might have been up 3 going into half or up 4, something like that.
I think I
But they
remember
they
correctly.
got the lead back when it looked like the Thunder might take like a 8
Yeah,
point
three. Yeah.
lead going into half at once we got down to like 3 minutes left. So I thought that run to close the half was huge, and that's a big credit to Fox. Harper, I thought was unbelievable. The
Yeah.
box score doesn't look incredible by any means, but he just played like such a mistake-free game and so many momentum plays that he was involved in. There had to have been like 3 or 4 offensive rebounds he got in the second
Yeah.
half alone. That like when it seemed like the Spurs needed something or the Thunder were about to make a run, Harper would make a big play to kind of steady the ship, and a lot of it was that rebound, the loose balls. I thought he just played kind of wise beyond his years in that game, and Wemby, while I was a little bit frustrated at times with it seemed like he was more focused on getting fouled than just looking at the rim and trying to score. He did enough offensively to guide them kind of through this game, and Champagny and other guys like Fox and Castle and Harper and all those guys. But Champagny I thought was great. His shot making was huge. They needed it,
Yeah.
and Wemby just attacked. He had runs where he attacked when he needed to. But like he also, to his credit, he didn't overshoot and take them out of the game just because he wasn't going to dominate the game scoring wise. And Shea was just fucking unbelievable. He ran out of gas in the fourth, it seemed like to me.
Yeah.
But through 3 quarters, that was one of the best performances from an individual player I've ever seen in a big game like this. There was really no foul baiting until he did that sideways jump on that 3.
Yeah, it
That
was the
was
one
like
bad
the
one.
only one that sticks out to me. But he earned a lot of respect from me in this one. He was fucking special in the mid range. He was getting to his 3 early in the game. If they would have won that game, it really would have been like a guy dragging a team, which you don't expect with the Thunder. I think this was a game that illustrated for all the. I mean, we've talked about it too, like how they don't seem to really need Jalen Williams. This game showed you
Two.
that they do in fact need Jalen
Desperately.
Williams in there because Chet. I mean, Chet just clearly is maybe not that guy on offense in the big moment, or maybe just against the Spurs. But that's kind of going to be a problem because I'd imagine you're going to run into the Spurs quite a bit in the playoffs if you're the Thunder. So, yeah, I think this one solidified J-Dub's importance a little bit more than maybe everyone kind of thought, the way that they had been running very smoothly. So I think they'll be excited to get him back next year. And you just have to, I mean, they need him to be healthy. Like, you can't go through every playoffs without your second best guy.
Yeah, yeah, I think especially, well, it's also just missing the duo of J-Dub and AJ too for those last few games is
Yeah, of
brutal
course.
because like even one of those guys having them there as some avenue of offensive creation would have been so massive. The burden on Shea offensively in this game was just way
Way
too
too
big.
much.
And like I love the rotation guys. We all love the rotation guys for OKC. We spent all season talking about it, but like these are such huge roles for Jared McCain when he comes in the
Yeah,
game, and
they're
some of
not
these
number
even
twos.
Kaysen.
They're
Yeah,
not number twos in a conference final.
right. So like, unfortunately for OKC, the injuries came at the absolute worst time, whereas San Antonio came into the series more banged up, and then got healthier as the series went on, and it ended with the culmination, as you both pointed to, of that trio of guards having their best performance in the biggest spot. And yeah, I do just want to say, Dylan Harper, man, we have been on record 100 times on this pod saying how much we love how good he is for them and how experienced he already looks. But man, the shot making down the stretch, getting to your bag, your tweed bag in the mid range for a tough contested midi on the right side on the wing, and then hitting a dagger straightaway three to put the lead. I think it was to 11 at that point, and just ice that game as a rookie is absolutely stupendous from him. Can't say enough about that. Wemby, I mean, the rebounding was much better in these last two games.
Mm.
I think that's probably a little bit of like an under discussed topic for him. His physicality was great. Also, on rebounding it as a whole, OKC had won, I think, the previous 2 or 3 games in a row in terms of rebound battle. They had shot the ball better than the Spurs. Those two things flipped for the last few games, and I think that made a huge difference in this one. But yeah, I just think the health was massive. And I just think Chet, even if you got a measly like 12.7 rebound game out of Chet, that goes a
Changes
mile
everything.
for this
Yeah.
team. Like it's just you can't have him absolutely ghost in this biggest moment.
It was like ghosted not only like he didn't want to shoot, which clearly he didn't want to shoot. He shot twice and it was both 2 minutes into the game. But like it was like he couldn't even like catch the ball. Like it was like the ball get like he was bugging out. Like it was like hard to watch from him on offense.
Yeah, scared performance. And it does raise questions. Like yeah, a lot of podcasts are talking about already, what are the trade packages? Can you get Chet out of there and bring somebody in like a Giannis or a Trey Murphy or one of these guys? I don't know how I feel about all of that, but it does raise serious questions about if you do have to get through this Spurs team at some point to win an NBA title, and they are going to be in front of you every step of the way. Is this the right construction of this team to win a title again in the Wemby era? And I think for me personally, I would just bet on the injury luck being better in the future. And honestly, I'm not as concerned about like the future outlook as some people seem to be. Like I see a lot of
I'm not
like
either.
freaking out and like we need to trade Chet. We need to go get another star. We need to start, cashing in on all these draft picks, move up, try to get booze. I'm not there at all with OKC. I just think you ran into another great basketball team who was healthier at the right time. And if you guys play 10 times, it's probably like 5-5, 6-4. Like this is just going to be a back and forth. And I don't know for you guys, how do you see this? Was this series, and I guess maybe it matters more that they lost the last two as well and won at home, but is this series an indictment on the future of OKC and this core as a whole, or is this sort of just a blip along the way?
No, but it's an indictment on their it's an indictment on more role players than I thought it was going to be. Like my reaction after the series is like Dort has to go completely.
Yeah.
I don't know why he starts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a big factor in why they start down in pretty much every game in this series.
I mean, it seems like they kind of realized that. I mean, he played 60 minutes in the game. Like
a lot of the
he
games were
didn't
like
play a
that,
lot.
but Beck's right. Like,
Yeah.
why is it
Why?
that?
Yeah. Why is
Why
he
do you
in
just roll him out just to immediately? Because at that point, Dagnall knows that
Right.
he's not the guy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
Beck, go ahead.
to the Chet point, I mean, I looked at him as the third option for them offensively.
Hmm.
I don't anymore, and I don't think that will like end up affecting their future potential as much as it did. But he can't look like that, and they need to find a way to actually be willing to and use him, deploy him in situations that make it the game easier for him because the standstill shooter thing and just like standing around the arc, it's not his game, obviously. I saw a lot of people have pointed to the hip injury as a turning point for the speed of his jump shot and being able to get that off. I really don't get how that is something for him that makes him unable to take these shots. At the end of the day, he's 7'2", and there's guards in this league who have slow jump shots who get get the shit off. Like he's got to fix the jump shot first and be like willing to take it because it's too much of a slow load right now for him. But still, even if it is that, be willing to take that over contest. Like you have the size advantage at least height wise, and then they don't use him as a screener on ball at all. So there's no like pick and pops, there's no pick and rolls, and if that's something where they're not willing to use him as a screener because he's not effective as a screener, they got to find a way to get with him the offseason so he's effective at that. Because I think that makes his game easier for him and it will help the offense as a whole. Because I mean, dude, they're using like the other J Dub as a screener, even using Cambridge as a screener. Like that can't be something you just don't ask of your 7-2 guy. And that's
Yeah.
like, it reminds me of Jaren a lot because they didn't run ball screens with Jaren with Ja at all. And if you're that big, you got to be able to be a screener in this league. And Jaren like had muscle too in his latter days of Memphis, and that wasn't something he used in mess. And I think, I mean, Kaysen said it himself. I feel like you got to give him the rope to be a bigger factor offensively, especially in a series like this. Like Dagnall uses his last time out with like 4.5 minutes left in this game, and it's like, hey, dude, if you're searching for answers so much, like why isn't that something you turn to quicker, especially if you're going to be reluctant to use McCain more, like Ryan said. So there's a lot of question marks with just like Mark's trust and like what OKC is like willing to do. How, because I'm not looking at the Chet thing as like a possible trade, but like with these role tertiary guys like Dort and Wallace and all this, like how much are they willing to shake shit up with that?
Yeah,
That's a big question I have.
yeah, and I think they might because when you look at their payroll, you'll have next season they'll have Hartenstein on an expiring, Dort on an expiring, Kenrich on an expiring, Kaysen on an expiring. Those are all guys that have. I mean, aside from maybe Kenrich, I think the Sixers or teams like that would love to have him. I don't think like the value's super high with him just because of his age. But those are guys that have value around the league, and you can offload them on those expiring contracts and get something back that's a little bit different, especially in the case of like a Dort. I think that especially is a guy who I think you would benefit tenfold from attaching a pick to him and trying to upgrade there. And I think that's the piece. I think Dort, I don't know why like a New Orleans would take on a Dort. Maybe you throw like a younger guy in there too and some picks and try to get Trey
That's the thing.
Murphy.
They have the assets to do kind of whatever they want. Like
Right.
they can really shake shit up if they choose to.
Right. And then like it depends what you see. Like what do they think of AJ Mitchell? I know he's on probably one of the best contracts, if not the best contract in the NBA. But like do they see him as a guy who can be their number 2 potentially, or do they see him as like a role player guy who's like a spark off the bench? Like that's who he's always going to be for this core. And if the latter's the case, then like he could be a really, really enticing sweetener to a team who wants an undervalued number 1 in a sort of like Brunson, but even to like a crazier contract degree kind of move. So like they have everything at their disposal, and I would be surprised if they don't make like even a small move because it does feel like we found out a lot about they just haven't had one of these like super super high leverage moments where it feels like their flaws are this magnified. Like even in that Denver series where that series could have gone either way, it still felt like you were so confident in that core and that rotation. And maybe you had some check questions, but overall, you didn't feel like there needed to be these like foundational changes to the point where I think right now we're having some of those conversations.
100%.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, they need to figure out the Chet thing because it can't be like in the Lakers series. I think he averaged like 20 points. You can't be going from 20 points to 10 and it felt even worse. Like
Yeah.
his 10 points a game gets downgraded to like 6 with this game 7 performance to me. The one thing that is worrisome is this is now 2 years in a row where you can't count on J-Dub being healthy. So like it's scary. Like, of course, yeah, they got unlucky with the injuries, but how are you going to go into another finals run or playoff run the next year when you already have all these chat questions? And now, of course, it's unlucky that they're hurt, but you're expecting the injury luck to change when it's not something that he's done in the past 2 seasons. So, like, you would expect him to be healthy and you would expect that to fix things, but it's also a little bit scary from the perspective of, all right, we don't need to overreact and panic and make a bunch of moves. But like this core still got it. But what if you go into next year and J-Dub's hurt again and chat question remains? Then it's like, okay, we really need to shake things up.
Yeah, and it seems like any pivot they make, they're going to be sacrificing kind of the OKC identity of an
Yeah.
all-time defense that they've had. Like it seems like
Right.
every swing move that they can make on the margins that I find realistic, it's like they're going to be sacrificing a decent amount of defense for more offense. It doesn't feel like there's a lateral move where they can bring a guy back that's, in the realm of like a J-Dub where he's a really good two-way player. Or like even a Chet.
Yeah.
Or like swapping out Dort hurts your defense too. Just anything they can kind of do to make this team better on paper. I don't know, like if they do shake it up and it hurts their defense, like is that an avenue they're going to be able to win with down the road? That's another question that I do have.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think in the case of Chet, it's extremely I think it would be a mistake because Chet is way more difficult to replace what he gives you defense. Like Chet is an incredible rim protector against anyone that's
Yeah,
not
he's
Wemby.
all defense first team like
Yeah,
this year. Like
yeah,
it's not,
and what you would have to do to replace that versus replacing Dort with, you already have Case and Wallace who can, be that demon for you defensively. And like I think if Dort was part of a deal that netted you Trey Murphy, I think that's a situation that like I would be okay with swapping offense for defense with something like that versus like Chet, if you're just
Chet.
completely giving up your rim protection, that's to me is a recipe for disaster where you start to go backwards
Yeah, I
and this
mean,
starts to look funky.
if Wemby didn't exist, Chet's the runaway defensive player of the year
Yes.
and probably doesn't have. I mean, that seems like the biggest worry to me is that it's a Wemby problem. Like, I don't. Game 7 was like very Ben Simmons esque, like in the fact that like he was clearly like afraid of the moment and afraid of having the ball in his hands. But it's not like Simmons in that for like 4 years you've seen him either like level off completely or like kind of regress in many ways, especially offensively. I mean, Simmons always kind of had the defense similarly to Chet, I would say. But like Simmons, that was like the culmination of
Right.
this
Yeah.
3 year run of like, what's going on here? I feel like this was just a really bad series for Chet, and it's definitely worth monitoring that it seems to be associated with going up against Wemby. But I don't think it's like the same way that I would look at Ben in like okay, like this guy needs like his career revived, or like we're going down a really scary path
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, I think you can still feel good about what you have in Chet as a whole. Like I do think like the recency bias, like especially with the media storm that's coming his way with how shitty he was to end the series. But yeah, I mean, the other thing is like for Chet, in the past we've talked about, I know throughout the last playoffs, Beck and I had questions about, could he sustain the length of the playoffs? And like there were moments where we were like, this guy just might not be it. Like this just might be a problem. And then he proved us wrong in a lot of those instances. And he had special performances. Obviously, in those finals, he had some great performances. But yeah,
Yeah, no, he was like underwhelming in that series. So I think every series they like I don't give him any credit for the first two series in this playoff run because they didn't play a legitimate center.
yeah.
So
Well, but
I
yeah,
think like it's a Wemby issue, but it's also whenever they've played a legitimate big who has defensive prowess, like the series has faltered. Not to this level.
Right. That's
But
Right.
yeah.
I mean, look at the or the Nugget series from last year, and look at the Indiana series from last year.
Yeah, he wasn't
He played
great.
good in the Minnesota series, which I'll give him credit for. But like that's the only series where I'm really like come away impressed with his offensive output. I think it's he struggles in series where they play good team defenses.
Yeah, I think
Definitely.
it's fair. I think it's fair. He had moments though in the finals last year where he was impactful for them offensively in ways that like in this he was literally just a non-factor entirely, which is like
Yeah.
you just can't have that. But I guess the one thing that I thought was interesting that Zach Lowe brought up today is like, and Ryan, you just brought up that this is if this is more of like a Wemby problem, the other silver lining you could say is like everyone has that problem right
Yeah.
now. Like there isn't a solution to the Wemby problem for anyone. And like, I don't care how good your front line is. I don't care if you have Rudy Gobert, you have Chet, you have it doesn't really matter at this point. So like until that and Beck, you brought this up a couple episodes ago, like we will eventually have teams who start to figure out Wemby. And like that's just the course of the NBA is some new superstar comes in. So, and this is to a different degree, but like over time, teams will figure out how to defend Wemby in better ways. And you saw for stretches in this series, making him shoot
Yeah,
more threes and
it
keeping him
wasn't
out of
like
the paint.
easy for him this series,
No,
like at all. Like the Thunder did as good of a job as I've seen any team do against him so far.
right. But in the end, it's still, and I guess
Yeah.
the thing you'd point to for OKC is also like the shooting for him in the last two games reverted back to how good it was in the start of
Hmm.
the series, which like there was a moment there, especially after game five, where it looked like, okay, wait, OKC has figured out the Wemby thing. This is bad. And that he just shoots the piss out of the ball again. And if he does that, there's just really nothing you can do.
Yeah,
So
I
I
mean he
guess you
went
just have to
seven of
gamble on,
16. He went 7 of 16 from three in games 6 and 7
yeah,
combined.
like if he
Like
does
that's
that,
just
you're
sorry.
cooked,
You're not
unfortunately.
contesting a 7-5 guy. It's just
Taking
nothing
step
you can
backs.
do. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, on the Chet thing, just to like wrap a bow on that, like I know he's gonna get fucking dogpiled on and he does deserve it.
Definitely.
But at the end of the day, I think it would be a bit rash to just completely move on from him and like try to build out something because that's also we talk about like they might have to change the core of this team. That's more than like moving out a Dort, your fifth starter. It's like
Yeah.
now
Yeah,
you're
no,
starting
that
to say that there's a crack at the top of this hierarchy, which would signify like something bigger to me.
so I definitely am on your side with the like I'm not just getting rid of Chet to get rid of Chet at all, but it has to be brought up if it is in a Giannis trade.
Right.
That I do think might be worth swinging for, just because if there is anybody that's like physically built to guard Wemby, it probably is Giannis, just because he's got the height, the length, and he's just way stronger
Right.
than a Chet, and he's just built better than a Chet. So I do think it is interesting, although I don't know how much it helps their offense
Yeah, the
having.
spacing looks funky with
I don't love it because I feel like part of their problem now is that Chet cannot play the five, and like, you're not going to have Giannis play the five either. So like, don't think it solves problems the way people might think it does on paper.
yeah, no, I agree because Beck, we talked about this too. We brought up a Chet for Giannis trade a couple episodes ago, and it's like, yeah, what you gain from Giannis in terms of, a quote unquote Wemby stopper, something along the lines of just making Wemby a bit more neutralized. Yeah, on offense, it looks weird because you're probably going to play. If they make that trade this summer, what it looks like
Right.
is you have Giannis and Hartenstein on the floor completely clogging the lane. And like, Shea doesn't want that. Like
No.
their wings don't want that. Their guards don't want that. That doesn't help anything. It doesn't space the floor. So like, yeah, it's a trade-off. And I guess what you'd be gambling on is that the impact that Giannis would have defensively outweighs whatever you'd lose from Chet spacing.
But
Which
then it's like you're trading the guy that finished second in Defensive Player of the Year,
yeah,
and we're saying
for
like it's
defense.
an
Yeah.
upgrade. So yeah, it doesn't feel like a slam dunk to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like the one idea I have in my head where I feel like you're not like using Chet and then like also capital to get somebody. I think Chet would be like on the other side. You would have to give capital up and you can get a star back. That I mean, try the Durant avenue.
Yeah.
Like you're going hard on
It feels like
going from
so. I
defense to offense, but like if you give up like Chet, I think they have to. If it's KD on the Rocket side, then it has to be like either picks or more assets attached. If you want to make it like really interesting, like Chet and Mitchell, AJ Mitchell. So that kind of
for
solves the
KD.
Rocket. No, and KD and something else because that solves the
Yeah,
Rockets' point guard issue. Gives them nice defensive versatility down low. And then I'm trying to think what
Yeah,
else
but
on the
I'm
Rocket
gonna need
side
like
would.
a ton back for
Yeah,
Chet and
I'm
right.
thinking what on the Rocket side would like
I'm gonna
even that
need like
out.
a men for that.
Yeah, or like AJ Mitchell and pieces to get Durant because they probably want to get off Durant. And I think AJ Mitchell is something that can solve a ton of what the Rockets need. And then it's like, what else can you do to make the salaries match there? Be like Dort, AJ Mitchell, and I'm trying to think who else like makes a good amount of money because Durant's on a big deal, obviously. But
I don't even know if I like want Durant though, if I'm them, like at
Yeah.
all.
yeah,
Are
I
you
feel like
worried
he
at
solves
all
a big
about the
piece of the pie.
vibes switch there?
I mean,
Because like,
it's a great case study on it, but at the end of the day, it's his first team. Yeah, like yes, I am.
yeah, I was gonna say, Beck, you're like the biggest
Yeah,
anti KD vibes guy, but yeah, no, I mean, I yeah, I mean, I do think Chet and AJ is a lot.
yeah. I'm not saying it's just the ramp back on the other end. Like it's got to be
No,
a
no, I
lot on
know,
the
I
Rocket
know.
side to even that out. I'm
The
just
problem
trying
is
to think of
the
stuff that works.
problem with that, and like I guess the problem with AJ Mitchell and trades in general, I know I brought him up earlier, is like because he's on $3 million a year, he's basically not on like that's not even like any salary in a trade. So
Yeah, you'd have to attach someone huge, most
yeah,
likely.
like in any trade you do with AJ Mitchell, it's like, gonna be tough to make the numbers work because what you want back, like in terms of like the player, the actual
Matching the
basketball value
value,
is
yeah.
so different for him, which is like that's the weird part about having the best contract in the NBA. Is like if you
Yeah.
are at a surplus of talent like the Thunder are, that's a really tough one to move. Like teams will line up for it, but you're not going to get back anything close to what you probably deserve for him, which does suck. I mean, for what's KD's number?
I'm looking right now.
I
I
didn't
was
think
also
we were
thinking like
asking.
an AJ Mitchell Şengün swap. I think a lot of things on the Rockets and Thunder side are interesting just because
That's
there's a
wow.
lot of different moving.
Şengün would be like the ultimate offense for defense swap.
Yeah, but you keep Chet in that case.
Oh,
Like
see,
they,
I see what you mean.
yeah. So it's
Yeah,
like a
you'd have to get
deal
pretty
center around
busy then.
AJ and Şengün.
You'd have to get so
Let me
busy
look.
with contracts to make that work, though.
Yeah, because Şengün's number is 37. I'm looking at Durant's number right now.
Durant's due 46.
46.
Yeah. It's expiring though, I think. Yeah.
It expires. He's an unrestricted free agent in 28. He has a player option in 27.
All right, so he's got 2 more years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's 43 this coming year, player option for 46 the following year.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm also just like in terms of OKC, Sam Presti, to me, the reason why I also don't think the Giannis thing's gonna happen is just because like it doesn't feel like a trade
It doesn't,
that Sam
it's
Presti
not a
would make.
Presti move. And also, I can't convince myself of any team going after Durant, especially the Thunder, though, when it's like all the way it ended in Oklahoma City with him. And like he's just coming off a year where like he kind of, I would say it like bears the responsibility a little bit of tanking their season with the burner stuff. Like he just did that again. And like that was the thing in Oklahoma City fucking 10 years ago. Like, why are we doing this again? So I think if I'm any team, I'm good on Durant.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it is like the Durant though, like as an archetype of player, would make a ton of sense. Like
Oh, totally.
if you had KD the player minus all of the bullshit, and also yeah, I agree that like the history there with OKC is really they're scorned lovers at this point, man. That's a
Yeah,
tough
it's
one.
just like they're on a whole nother like path now. It feels weird to like bring him back into it with the current core.
It is interesting though, like for OKC, they are gonna have to make a decision at some point. Stockpiling draft picks and doing the natural build thing is great, and it won them a title. But if this is the state of the league with Wemby sort of just announcing himself like this and Harper doing as he's done, And the Spurs are only going to get better. They're going to add role players and make this look better with those rookie deals. They are going to eventually have to make a decision about they literally can't draft all these players with the picks that they have.
Yeah.
And they are, I think at some point,
Maybe
going
you
to
wait
be
for Anthony Edwards.
Ant-Man.
He's going to Atlanta. I heart AJ Mitchell for Sengun.
What's iHeart? 28 for
Yeah.
iHeart? And
So
AJ's 3,
you're
so
like
that's
you're
31.
5 million off there. You can add like Topic. Great.
Add
That
another
matches.
add another rookie deal in there. Sorber. Yeah.
I don't think they want to give like Sorber matters for their front line.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Beck, you and I talked about that. I think Sorber's like a swing piece for them next year. And maybe that's like what they think is I think they're going to try to move up in this draft with their 2 picks. Maybe they just think we have another top 10 guy coming in. We have Sorber who hasn't played for us yet, who we think is going to be great for our defense. And we just fucking run this thing back. And like, I'm more inclined to think they'd go that way.
Yeah, me too.
And
Throwing out ideas.
I think they're right. Yeah, no, I love the KD thought experiment though, because it would be like imagine the narrative of KD coming back and just like winning them a title, beating Wemby, and like him being like a special like roamer again, something like that. Like it would be cinema. But yeah, but we have the NBA Finals now. We have the Spurs, we have the Knicks who feels like haven't played in about a year. Where do you think this matchup is won, and who do you have?
I mean, it's one with Towns. I mean, Towns is the obvious swing factor in the series, and the way they guard Wemby because OG, like the stats this year against Wemby are very good. I don't know like how much stock you put into that because I'm pretty sure Wemby came off like either like a calf injury in the cup or something like that, and then with Towns, it's like how far is he? Like how much does his gravity affect how much Wemby's able to play in the paint? Do they even put Wemby on him? Like, I tend to think they put Wemby on like Hart, but then can Towns just kill his matchup scoring wise? Because that's not how it's been for the Knicks in the playoffs. It's been Towns initiating the offense. So, like, how much do they stick to that script, or do they is this the series where Towns cooks scoring wise? And then I mean, the wear and tear from a 7-game series versus the Thunder for the Spurs. Like, are they going to be worn down through this series? And I tend to think that might be a thing because even during the latter part of this series, like Wemby was running on E. I felt like
Totally.
For sure.
Game 5, you saw like even this game down the stretch, like they needed some heroic, out of body shots from guys like Keldon Johnson. Champagny played great these last 2 games, and you're not going to get like 17 of 40 from 3 every game for the Spurs. So I think I lean Knicks here.
Wow.
Knicks in 6. Yeah.
No way. In 6 too?
Yeah.
Knicks in 6. Special. Make the case.
I think they got a good thing going here. They're well rested, and I trust that Towns will be able to cook offensively if they don't have the right game plan going. And I think they can take advantage of that early in the series. It's just, are we going to see like the rust that we saw in like a game 1 versus the Cavs? I think they have to take care of game 1. They need to come out and win game 1 because I think the Knicks are kind of like a reactionary team where like if they lose game 1, I think that could scare them, then like revert them back to yeah exactly. And then it's going to come down to like, are you going to get the same Mikal Bridges that you've got? I trust OG to give you like his usual offensive output, but Mikal Bridges has been ultra efficient the last 2 rounds, especially. And with the Spurs, like the way they're able to guard, I feel like that's definitely going to come down a little bit. It's how much is the push-pull effect there? Like, are we going to get the really bad Bridges, or are we just going to get like mid Bridges? And I think you can get by with mid Bridges. I don't think you're getting by with like him playing like shit.
Yeah. Yeah, Ryan.
I have Spurs in 7 probably. I think this one's going to be a dogfight, and I could definitely see the Knicks winning. The thing I focus on is I'm not as concerned about the rest and the wear and tear on the Spurs. Game 1's not till Wednesday, so by that point they'll be on like 4 days rest, I believe.
Yeah,
going into game 1. So like, I know that they've had to exert way more effort than the Knicks have because the Knicks have really just walked through the East. But I think what trips me up on the Knicks, I feel like, is that the East is just bad. Like they've played teams that have just
Mm.
quit. The Sixers quit against them. The Cavs quit against them. The best fight they've got so far is the Hawks. And I think they're in for a little bit of a shock through no fault of their own, really. It's just that's the teams that were laid out in front of them, and they beat them to their credit. But I think it's tough to go from just walking through two series to now playing a team that's been tested against the best team in the league by a good margin, I would say. And I think the thing with this one is I expect the Knicks role players to play well. I mean, OG is more than a role player, but
Yeah.
I expect him to be great. I expect Mikhail to do Mikhail things, and he's been good. But I think the Spurs guards just match up very well, and the Spurs team defense as a whole match up very well with Brunson. And I think that is a lot of how the Knicks beat teams is Brunson just killing them for 40 minutes. And I don't think it's going to be that easy for him. I'm sure he's gonna get his in certain games, but I think the Spurs just have too many guys at the guard position that can make life difficult on him. And I don't trust the Knicks offensive players aside from Brunson to score enough points to keep up with the Spurs.
Yeah. Yeah, I really go back and forth on this series. And I do think a good thing for the Knicks in this series, and actually I think which makes them a much more interesting matchup to me than OKC even is they have a huge wing advantage in this series. Like it's
Definitely.
massive. And I'm literally in my head like going back and forth as we speak, but I want to talk through it a little bit. Like Ryan, to your point, I agree. I think Brunson, this is not a great matchup for him. And actually, in the regular season, he didn't really have like a signature game in the three games they played. His best game, he had 29, but it wasn't super efficient shooting. It was 10 for 24 from the floor. Then it was 25 on 11 for 27 and 24 on 7 for 16. So never like a signature, like one of those games where he just goes on a mega heater. And I think the Spurs guards are a good matchup there. But OG had an absolutely insane game against the Spurs. He had 28 on 10 for 17 from the field. And with how he's playing lately, I think you'll at least get a few games of him playing like that. And I don't really see what like San Antonio can do in terms of like defensively. They're going to have to pick their poison in terms of like what you do with Cat, what you do with OG. If Mikhail's shooting the way he's been shooting over the last, I don't even know how many games now. And then you obviously have Brunson you're going to try to throw different bodies at. This might be a series where we're going to really see what you have with Carter Bryant. Like this might be
Carter
like,
Bryant?
yeah, Carter Bryant. You might really have to like see what the extent of his like specialness is right now because like they really are at a deficit in the wing department. I think like a Champagny might really struggle in this series. But in 7 games, you have Wemby against Cat. I like that a lot. I think Mitch Rob is actually a really interesting factor too in this series that we should talk about. Like, I think he provide in the 2 games that he played in this regular season matchup, the Knicks won, and the one they won very comfortably, and then the one he didn't play, they lost. So I think he's a huge X factor in this one. Do I pick against Wemby? I think I might have Knicks in 7.
I don't think
Unfortunately,
you're
Wow.
picking against Wemby in the
I,
series. The wing thing's a massive thing, like you said. And
yeah, I
like,
I'm
think that's where
I'm
this is
stunned.
won.
who
I'm the only
it,
one on the Spurs.
who's
I
the best
know,
wing
and I
they've
might
played
feel
in
like a
this run?
dumbass.
Like they haven't played a healthy Edwards, they haven't played a healthy
J-Dub
J
in
Dub,
game 1. That's it. Yeah,
but he's not healthy either. Like,
right.
and Edwards is coming off injury, so are we saying like Denny Adiva is the best wing they've played, or Jaden McDaniels?
Jaden.
And,
Yeah,
and we're talking about scoring threats here. So you like Josh Hart's the worst option that the Knicks have offensively, and he's at least like a neutral with like what Caruso would give you. And the Thunder were running out Dort, Caruso, Jalen Williams, like the other Jalen Williams. I know he's not a wing, but I'm just talking about like offensive factors here.
yeah,
And they ran out like 4 or 5 less offensive factors than you're going to see from the Knicks. Like Mitch Rob's the least, but he's a rebounding big who's going to win the bench minutes against Cornette. Like I think that's a given. So I think it's more offensive firepower than the Spurs have seen all postseason, like by far.
yeah.
And the fact that they're not going to be able to run on defense like they did on SGA, where it's like anybody else can beat us. Like you can't do that against the Knicks. It's going to be a lot of like Josh Hart leaving him wide open. So
Yeah,
I think the start the series, especially, that's a big thing to watch. But I kind of think the fact that they haven't seen a matchup like this, and the Wings can really take advantage of this for the Knicks. It's going to come down to that, and I think that tips it in the Knicks' favor. And I think it's too much to overcome, even for like a superstar like Wemby.
I also just think like in terms of because I don't know if like health luck will play a factor in this series, but when you think about the Spurs minus like a guy versus the Knicks, it like I think that the Knicks just have weirdly like I think they have more, and I think that like
In the
Harper,
wing and big department, definitely.
yeah,
Guard department, it's Spurs for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. Well, but then you
You
think
can
about
run the
like
Wings on like the guards though, so it's
Definitely.
yeah. I don't think you're going to get like a much better Fox series. A lot of it comes down to Harper again. Like
Harper, yeah,
yeah,
which is
Like
interesting
in
because
terms of
also the Knicks
creation,
can guard him better than
yeah.
I think OKC could have as well.
if Brunson's having a hard time, that's where I'm like, I don't know who the Knicks go to like create and initiate offense. And I know that it has been Cat a lot, but the Spurs can always just put Wemby on him and make his life very difficult. So that's where I kind of look because like OG's not that guy, Hart's not that guy, Bridges isn't that guy, and like what's the next option? Like Deuce McBride. We're not playing against the Sixers here, so I don't know. That's where I think they might have some trouble.
Yeah, do you think at all about like if you are because Cat, I know that like Chet is, and we talk about this a lot, is like the theoretical floor spacer. Like I feel like in this series, Chet was 100% like a non-factor shooting the basketball. He only
Oh
took
yeah,
11 threes.
certainly.
Cat is a real
Is a
floor
legit
spacer, like
shooter.
a
Yes.
historically great big man shooter.
Yeah.
Do you think at all that like at some point San Antonio is gonna have to bring Wemby away from the basket, like to some degree in the series? Like, Cat, if you do, even if it's just like slow rotations, he will kill you in ways that Chet probably couldn't. And I do wonder, like, at some point in the series, if Wemby takes the onus upon himself to step out on some of those, then you have the Brunson driving lanes opened.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's a lot of X factors in this
So yeah, it's
series.
definitely something to watch because aside from Wemby, if Cat is cooking, it's like I don't know who you put on him if he's killing someone and you don't want to bring Wemby out.
Yeah. The other thing on the Knicks side is like we saw that
Bismack.
special. The other thing on the Knicks side is like we saw them get in foul trouble in the Sixers series even, and like their rotation on the front line starts to look pretty
Real
funny,
bad.
pretty
Yeah.
fast. So I do wonder if like it's like Hook Porty out there in like the second quarter against Wemby. Like, what does that look like?
That's what I'm kind of wondering with the Wemby and Mitch Rob thing. Like I think OG's certainly going to play a role in guarding Wemby, but
Yeah,
I also don't think you don't want him just only guarding Wemby. Like you're gonna or else like he's gonna figure that out to some extent. Like he's gonna be able to shoot over him. And I mean OG's extremely strong and physical, so he'll definitely be able to bother him a little bit. But the thing with like the Mitch Robs of the world is where Embiid's always been able to kind of bail himself out when he is struggling is getting Mitch Rob to foul him, and same goes for Cat too. And Wemby's good at getting to the line, but it's going to be interesting to see if he can kind of bait them into the same fouls the way that other guys kind of mastered it, like a Joel. Because if they're not in foul trouble and they're able to just throw Mitch Rob, Cat, OG at him at like full strength whenever they want, it's going to be difficult for him.
Yeah, and
yeah.
I misspoke. The first two were in San Antonio. Totally,
I
I
didn't even
forgot
know
about
you
that.
said
So
that.
I think that bodes well for bodes better for the Knicks than I thought in that department because they don't have to go out and like win game one, which I
Yeah,
feel like
yeah.
in New
You just have
York
to win
they
one
would
out of
have
two.
to. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. No, I feel that, and then that sets the tone. Like if Wemby steals one and has like a heroic performance, and then they come back to San Antonio, it's like
yeah,
I
Jesus
really
Christ.
different ball
think it's
game.
going to be 2-2 heading into game 5. I like
That's so
really,
interesting to think
really
about,
do.
though, about how like home court advantage. I think it matters
Can
so
be
much
bad.
at the end
Yeah,
of a
if you
series, but to
lose.
start a series, it is really like
Yeah.
not entirely to your benefit. Like you will have the crowd behind you in the opening 2 games, but it's house money for
If
the
you
away
lose
team.
one, yeah.
Yeah. So that's a good point. Yeah. I mean, it really to me is about the Knicks front line not completely getting in foul trouble every single game. You can have it in a couple games of this series, but if it's every single game, the way that it has been in some portions of this playoffs, then I think they're really going to struggle. And I think if McHale is special in the way that he has been, I think that's another massive swing factor that just like if he shoots 10 for 12 from the field in like three
Yeah.
or
I
four of these
mean,
games, like
yeah, they're
they're a
not gonna
tough fucking
lose.
team to beat, man. Like there's a reason that they have the
Yeah, he's like
greatest
their
point
fourth
differential and
fourth guy. If
yeah.
he's giving you 50, 60% from the field, like as your four.
They're the odds-on favorite too going in, right?
No, those are like -210 to win the series. I
Yeah.
saw.
Yeah, I think it's a little much.
Yeah, I think it's
I
definitely a little
agree.
much, dude.
I thought it would be like Spurs minus like 150.
Yeah,
Like I thought they'd be a slight favorite, not. But I saw like I checked it like right after Game 7 ended, and they were like plus -210, and the Knicks were like plus 170, I believe.
Yeah, let me see.
I can check that.
Yeah. I mean, I think Vegas is just betting on the Western Conference being so much better and like that the Knicks just have a real surprise in front of them. Which I
That's
mean,
kind of where I'm at.
yeah, which I mean could 100% be the case. And like also, we're talking about a team that just went into OKC and had a couple of 22 and younger guys just absolutely look like demons on the biggest stage.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like the line has changed at all. Still seeing -205 Spurs
Yeah,
plus 170
I'm putting
Knicks.
something in now because like I don't see a world where this Spurs start up 2-0 in the series. You're at least going to get a favorable cash out if it's 1-1 going back to New York.
Yeah. Also, Beck, did you say you said six Knicks and
Yeah,
six? And I had seven and Ryan had seven. So we all have a long series.
Yeah,
So yeah, I mean, two.
I'd be shocked if it goes anything less than
No,
6. I'd
no,
be stunned.
either way, I'd be really,
Yeah,
really surprised. Which is like, I think a lot of people sort of in the back of their minds just had like the Knicks getting blown out by anybody in the West. And then I think as we've gotten closer and closer to the actual series, and I think it'll even drop closer to game one, the respect has really grown. I mean, fuck, Beck and I both have the Knicks.
I mean,
I
I
think,
said it after the Sixers series. I said
yeah,
Knicks can beat anyone out of the West.
yeah.
They impressed me a lot.
Is there any world where you think Brunson just gets absolutely clamped in this series? Like not to like he has like 6 points or something, but like he has 17 or
I
something, like
think he's
some
going to struggle
crazy.
in ways we haven't really seen in the playoffs before because he's kind of fried every playoff series pretty much.
Yeah,
I mean, and then he got hurt in that the Pacers series,
last
but
year.
even still, yeah, they like I feel like he was still kind of cooking them too up until he got hurt, and they don't their guard defense isn't as good as the Spurs. So I think this is going to be by far the biggest test he's ever had.
yeah. I mean, I don't see him having like a worse series than SGA games 1-6. And a lot
Right,
of people looked at that. Like,
Fair.
I know
right.
for SGA standards, like a lot of the talk was because he was so efficient in the regular season, but still, like for like Brunson, we would look at that like it's not a good series, right?
Yeah,
So I don't think you get anything worse than that. And the Knicks have a better support system around that.
yeah. So think,
I'd be hard pressed to see him have like 5 for 25 games.
yeah, yeah. And I was doing the math in my head too, and I was like 17 points on 5 for 25.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, I also think Brunson's game not being, I know he gets downhill and like him getting down into the lane is a huge part of his game, but he does shoot way more threes than SJ does. And like he's more of a threat out on the perimeter, I'd say, versus like Shea wants to get to the nail, wants to get to the elbow, and wants to get into the teeth of the defense. Not that Brunson doesn't, but like I think Brunson's game might be like a little bit more like safeguarded in a way against the Spurs, and also he'll have other guys who can stretch the floor in
He
ways that I
did
think.
shoot the ball like shit against the Cavs from 3.
Yeah, yeah, it wasn't great,
He shot 18% from 3 in that series. Obviously, didn't
but also
matter.
maybe you're betting on that sort of
Yeah,
returning back to the average.
regressing. Yeah,
Andy, I mean, he's a more willing 3-point shooter than Shea.
Right. That's
way
essentially
more.
it.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, I could even see myself switching before the day of the game, but Yeah, I just like it's hard for me to overlook what the Knicks have done, and I know that like the East was very bad and like, playing the Cavs in the Eastern Conference Finals crazy, but I mean, you still have to beat the team that's in front of you, and they absolutely decimated everyone in their path. It's even crazy to think that like the Hawks were the biggest test to this team, and maybe like the Hawks are feeling pretty good about themselves, even though they lost
They
by
should.
60
I
in that
mean, they
game
should.
six. But yeah, I mean, any last thoughts on this before we move to these NFL trades?
That's
I
pretty
don't
much
think
all
so.
I got,
I'm
man.
ready. I'm
Yeah.
ready to watch a good series. I hope it's a good series, and I hope the Knicks lose.
Yeah, I'm rooting for the Spurs. Like I'm all in on the Wemby train. I
It would be cool.
kind of see him running out of gas.
Is it also like just in terms of like a weird narrative thing that I've made up in my head? Is it also almost like the fact that it was this glorious of an ending to the Western Conference Finals also kind of makes you lean like in a weird way that makes me lean Knicks that like almost best player in the world crowning moment happened before the finals.
I mean, it would be extremely quick for him to climb the mountain. Like
That's kind of
it
what
would
I'm
be kind of
Yeah.
unprecedented for like a guy of this stature that we're looking at as like kind of the next great player in this league
Yeah,
to
it's
win
tough.
a
It's tough
year.
for me to picture.
because like we haven't really had somebody who just climbed the mountaintop
No,
immediately.
it took LeBron fucking 9 years or
Yeah.
whatever. Like,
It took MJ forever too, and he lost in the
I
first
mean,
round of the
Shea's like
playoffs and
probably what, like the fastest one, but he
he
didn't
was
come in
26, but
with
yeah.
those expectations.
I mean,
Like
Yeah.
people talk about like
he
Magic is
became
like the
he
last
became
one.
Right.
yeah, but
Magic's
yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
Kareem. So like it.
right. And
Good for
MJ
you.
did also have like a 60-point playoff game. His what was it, his rookie year, his
But
first playoff.
it's a way
Uh
Yeah, no,
different
just
league at that
yeah.
time too.
Winning 16 games your first run's fucking nuts, and
yeah.
I haven't seen it in my lifetime, and I favor history a little bit too, so that does factor in a little bit. But like, just the Knicks are a tough matchup, man.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so let's transition to the NFL where we had a couple massive trades. We expected one of them with AJ Brown going to the Patriots. That's a trade we knew about all along. Shout out Diana Rossini for that one.
She
But the
got her
Miles
boy a wide receiver one.
sure
She did
did.
it.
But let's start with the one that kind of just not came out of nowhere because there were some reports that teams were calling about Myles Garrett. But I think the fact that the Rams got this done this fast pretty much shocked me. What were your thoughts on this deal when it came through, and what do you think about the Myles Garrett fit, and also the capital that went the other way in this deal?
I mean, I love it for that.
Yeah,
I've been talking on the spot about how I'm not really a big Jared Verse believer, so it kind of signifies that the Rams aren't all the way bought in either.
yeah,
And I mean, you get a certified pass rusher like this, you just hope he doesn't like fall off a cliff like this year. No, I mean, you're making this trade for this year at the end of the day, so you just need him to be at the Myles Garrett that we know.
right.
But I mean, he's been in the league for a while, man. Like it's not unforeseen where you can see like a D lineman just kind of drop in production out of nowhere, like he fell off a cliff. I'm not saying that's gonna happen to him, but like even if it's like a 10 sack season, you're a little bit disappointed,
Could
especially
you
with
see a
the
world
other
where
weapons.
No,
he only
10
has 10?
sacks, 10 sacks, you're mad. Like that
Yeah,
that's
Yeah,
what
I'd be
Jared
like,
Verse is
you're like
giving you.
livid. That's not
Yeah.
even Jared Verse didn't even get that. His best
Yeah.
season 7.5.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm saying like you're not making this trade for him to be like a slight
Right.
upgrade
Right.
from Jared Verse. You're making this trade for him to be the best defensive player in this era of football. Like you're trading for him to be Aaron Donald of present day.
Yeah.
I think it's a win-win trade for both. I think even if you're not the biggest Verse guy, this is a guy that's I think he's made the Pro Bowl for his first 2 years. And you don't see pass rushers this young get traded, really. He's in year 3 of his rookie deal, I believe. So, like,
Yeah, this will be his
you
third
have,
year.
you have 2 cost-controlled seasons with him. So I like this from the Browns. I mean, there's no reason to hang on to Myles Garrett. You need to transition to the future. And I think getting a player like Verse back in a trade is better than just stockpiling a million picks. So I like it. You get a cost-controlled young pass rusher who's shown that he can be very dominant, and hopefully he's got more room to grow, even if you're a little bit skeptical of him personally. You've seen him be pretty good, and you just hope he can build on that. And I saw other reports. I think the Eagles, it seemed like were like the second most serious team in the talks.
Yeah, they were called.
And it seems like they were offering like either like a Jalix Hunt, Nolan Smith plus picks package. I believe it's kind of been reported that the Rams were throwing out Jalen Carter in there. It doesn't seem like, from what I can tell, that the Eagles were ever willing to put Carter on the table. If they were, I would have taken the Carter package if I'm the Browns. But it doesn't sound like to me from the multiple reports that I've read that he was ever on the table. It seemed like the Browns were kind of asking for him to be, and that's where things with the Eagles kind of fell through.
Yeah, I think Nolan Smith doesn't move the needle there enough. If like he has a little bit more production, I think the Browns.
No, I agree. I'd rather take the Verse and picks package than a Nolan Smith and picks package. Though I think Smith is a good player, I don't see him as dominant as I could see Verse being like a 14 sack guy, like when he's rounding out his prime.
And he's got a good ecosystem around him with the Browns still.
Like, and I don't really see that for Nolan Smith, even though I do think he's a good player. So I like this from both sides. The one thing I will say on the Rams is it makes me scratch my head more than I already was at the Ty Simpson pick. You're clearly going all in on this year. And I saw a report that said that made them more comfortable to make this trade because they already feel like they got their quarterback, which I guess you can stretch and get there. But in my opinion, just you're making all these moves for this year and maybe next year. Just get a guy that's going to help you this year, and like let's get the Super Bowl if we're going all in. Especially when it's Ty Simpson with all the question marks. Like it's not like you drafted.
Yeah, it's a project.
Yeah, it's not like you drafted a can't miss guy.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I thought that's the interesting thing is like the philosophy is just so wildly different. And like,
if it works out, it works out, and they seem smart. Like I totally understand that, but I'd rather just if we're pushing our chips in, let's push them all the way in.
Yeah, and I do just want to say like I'm looking at this Rams defensive depth chart right now. It is absolutely unbelievably good.
I mean, opposite of Garrett, they have Byron Young, who I think had like 12 sacks last year.
Byron Young, Braden Fisk, Kobe Turner, Poona Ford, Nate Landman. Dude, the secondary, Trent McDuffie, they just got.
Their corners are extremely special.
Their safeties are good too. Lake's a fucking stud.
I mean, it's an unbelievable roster, top to bottom on that defense, and like. You pair that with an explosive offense. Like, I don't know for you guys, are the Rams just the clear favorite for the Super Bowl right now with like nobody that close at two?
Yeah. I mean, I think the Seahawks will be very good again, but they certainly take a little bit of a downgrade from this past year.
Yeah.
They lose Kenneth Walker, you lose your OC. Like that, the OC to me is the biggest question mark with this team. But I mean, you just look at the defense and let's not forget about the offense either.
And how close they were last year.
Yeah, they almost had the Seahawks this year. So, I don't really think it's a debate, like especially in the NFC alone. This is absolutely the team to beat this year.
Yeah. I will say that, like, man, this kind of goes for any team, but like especially them, just because he's old and fragile. Like if Stafford is not right, then this whole thing kind of sinks.
Absolutely.
Which is scary.
For sure.
Well, that's why you got Ty Simpson.
Imagine.
Maybe that's the thought process.
Imagine he's thrust in there in like week
could you
7.
imagine they just took like Ruben Bain 11?
Well, yeah, but then do you even make the? Do they make?
Well, it can be anyone
trade?
you want. Take Kenyon Sadiq. Fuck it. Like
you
could have had a real impact player out of
that. They have a special tight end room too, dude. It's insane. Like I just there's no world in my head where I see Stafford playing like all 6 or all 17. So you're either going to see Ty Simpson or they don't like feel comfortable putting him in yet, and you see Stetson Bennett. Like
and then it's like,
oh my God, Stetson Bennett.
Draft this guy? Like,
imagine Stetson.
Which I kind of think they would favor. I think they would favor somebody who's been in the
100%.
Especially McVay.
I was going to say from what we've seen, I mean it's interesting. I do think, even with Garrett, like I know that he's stayed mostly upright throughout his career, but like he's getting up there. Like
30.
We had the Micah situation in Green Bay last year where like it looks amazing and it looks like the Packers are like leveling up, and then all of a sudden it's like everything crumbles, and you leverage a lot of draft capital. So I mean, there's definitely factors in football more than any sport. Like the health is is huge. But like if this team stays healthy,
Yeah, no, they're legit a super team.
oh,
It's like one of the like
yeah,
best teams on paper, I think, going
Yeah.
into
ever
the football
assembled.
season.
I
Yeah.
mean, you could say they have the best receiver, the best quarterback, the best DN, the best, like, you could stretch and say corner, probably not, but
Secondary,
you could
yeah.
argue, yeah, secondary overall, like,
I
certainly.
still have Seattle, but yeah, I mean it's
It's
unbelievably special
ridiculous.
group. Ryan, you mentioned the Eagles be calling as well. Had it been Jalen Carter instead of Jared Verse, and you got that news today, and it was Jalen Carter plus
Wouldn't
like
have did it. I wouldn't.
how what would your reaction have been had you seen that notification?
I mean, I wouldn't have been like pissed off or anything, but there's no world where I'm including 20, I don't even 23-year-old Carter. I'm guessing is how old he is, maybe 24. Especially when like I mean the Eagles will be good this year, but I don't know that they're in like this kind of feels like a little bit of a transition year with AJ and like Mannion coming in and hopefully becoming the next head coach of this team.
Hmm.
So I would have been fine if they did the like a Nolan Smith and a first and some other stuff. I would not have wanted to trade Carter for Garrett.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Also, like schematically, I think he would be at greater injury risk if the Eagles did the move because you're playing him at interior D line way more. Like the Rams can use him exclusively
yeah,
as a
yeah.
pass rusher. Like they don't have to
He
worry
doesn't have to
about.
play every
Yeah.
down. Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, oh yeah, this I just keep thinking about that Rams defense. That's like such a special group. But let's move on to the other trade, which did involve the Eagles. Obviously, AJ Brown. We knew that he was going to be on the move. We knew that New England was the landing spot, and the trade finally gets done, and it's a 28 first and a 27 fifth. What did you think? Is that enough draft capital? Is that are you happy about
Yeah.
it? How are you feeling about this situation now?
Yeah, you get
Uh,
off him at the perfect time. Go ahead, Ryan. My bad.
Yeah, no, you're fine. I'm just glad it's fucking over at this point. Like
Yeah,
I'm just relieved. I'm over the whole thing. I have been over the whole thing for quite some time. I don't feel any like hatred or anything towards AJ Brown. Like I feel like a lot of Eagles fans are like very bitter that he wanted out,
yeah,
which I understand. I don't like blame him. I mean, he definitely did quit on the team this year. Like he absolutely quit. You can watch the games, you can read the reports. Apparently, he requested a trade after week 4. We were 4-0. So like, if you're unhappy here when we've been to 2 Super Bowls, won one of them, and we're 4-0 again, like then you're just never going to be happy here. It seems to me with like some of the reporting that we've got that it's more of a personal thing with him and Jalen. Obviously, we don't really know what happened there, and we probably never will know. But I'm just glad it's over. I'm happy that we had him for the time that we did. He was awesome through the first 2 years, and then things went a little bit sour. But essentially, the Eagles basically flipped a 5th round pick for a 3rd round pick and got a Super Bowl in 4 years of a great receiver out of it. So, like, it's a good job by Howie. I think it's pretty nice to get a first and a fifth when everyone knew this guy didn't want to be here. So I think it's a win-win for everybody. The Patriots get their guy. AJ goes where he wants. We get the draft capital we want. Everyone can just move on and be happy. And I'm excited to see what Devontae can do as the no doubt
yeah.
wide receiver one in this offense.
Yeah.
Special Mackay. Go ahead, Beck.
Yeah, the Eagles get like it's the last time you're ever gonna get a 1st round pick for him. So you get off him at the perfect
Definitely.
time. Not to say like his production's gonna fall off a cliff. I think he has 1 or 2 like alpha
Yeah,
number one
I expect him
years
to be good,
left.
great this year, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, he steps into the Diggs role, and like Diggs kind of felt underwhelming last year, and he was still like I know fantasy points isn't like the barometer, but he's like the 18th receiver
Really?
in terms
I
of
didn't
fantasy points.
I felt like Diggs was like pretty good last year.
Yeah, I mean, it
felt
was
like he
never
gave me
anything like
what I
crazy though.
Not
expected.
as dependable as
No,
like
not
we've come to
insane,
be
but I
accustomed
guess
to
I
with
was
him
like
though.
lower on Diggs than
Yeah,
going
yeah, yeah.
in.
Yeah.
Like I didn't expect that
Then when he
much
ended
from
up,
him.
yeah,
Yeah, I guess off the ACL, but just with like a MVP quarterback, you
Yeah.
would kind of expect like the number 1 receiver to go crazy there, especially with the other options they had last year. But now they have a better receiver group in
dude,
totality. Like him and
it's a
Dobbs is
very good
really
group
nice 1
now.
and 2.
Yeah.
And
Now it's yeah.
Boutte,
Yeah,
it's a
yeah,
good top 3.
very good. And then still got. I mean, Hunter Henry's been kind of a staple for them at tight
Yeah,
end, so they got a good weapons group, and that's it's like a legit wide receiver one for May, which is the first time he's kind of had that in his career. So that's good for them. And the Eagles, they recoup. They get a 2028 pick, which I like. Even though the draft class is strong next year, it's you get that at a point when a lot of those contracts come up
Mhm.
in 2028, which is nice. And who knows what the Patriots look like 2 years down the line. Like there's a large range of outcomes for that pick. Not to say they'd be like top 10, but it could be they could miss the playoffs like on the fringe, and it ends up being like the 15th pick in the draft. Like that's a possibility. And yeah, I agree with Ryan in terms of like the vibes. It does feel like a kind of a transition period for the Eagles, but it's good to get off him now, just in terms of like we can finally turn the page. And it's a different offense this year. It seems like Jalen's bought in, and hopefully he kind of uses, if it is a personal issue with AJ, which it kind of seems like, hopefully like he uses that as motivation to prove him wrong and run a new system this year. That would be cool to see, and that's probably the hopeful outlook if you're the Eagles, is he totally buys into the system and proves AJ wrong at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting because, as you said, like the makeup of this wide receiver room in Philly is so different now. And like even the complementary guys that they brought in, like the Wicks and obviously Mackay will eventually be more than a complimentary guy, but early on he'll be a complimentary guy. The type of receiver they are, as we talked about in the past, is so different. And I think it's gonna be about, can Sean Mannion implement the offense that he wants, and can this start to look just completely different? And I think it can. I see the vision a lot with this for the Eagles, because Mannion's going to want to play a lot of play action. He's going to want a lot of motion before the snap, and it's like quick reads for Jalen. And it's a lot of guys who can separate early in that wide receiver room now. And I can really see this going like in a special direction. But also at the end of the day, you are losing a really dependable guy in AJ who gives
Definitely.
you a different route tree than any of these guys are going to give you. So yeah, it'll be about like what wins out. Was the talent more important, or was it like being able to implement a scheme and a system that eventually works for Jalen more than it did the past couple of years? That's really what it's going to come down to. But yeah, I agree. It's the right time to move off AJ. And yeah, I think
Yeah, I mean,
this could be a
there's no
win for both
world where
teams
he
in the
could
end.
be on the team this year. I think
Yeah.
it's become clear that that simply was just not an option. So
Mhm.
the fact that you can get a first and a fifth for him, I think it's fair compensation. I think the Broncos really fucked the Patriots with that Waddle trade. If that Waddle trade doesn't happen, I don't know that we get a first. I think that gave Howie a lot of leverage to be like, I'll sit on him for forever until I get a first
Yeah.
round pick, considering what Waddle went for.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Rams probably like would have been willing
I
to
was
do
gonna
that.
say he would have gotten it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I saw people say like, "How could the Patriots have given up a first? Like, how did the Eagles get a first for him?" And I can't really blame the Patriots if they didn't pony up. Someone would have eventually.
Yeah.
Someone would have caved.
Yeah.
Well, I want to throw this out there because I mean it sounds crazy to say, but I think if you're like personally, like this is the way I look at it. I would trade like the possibility of them winning a Super Bowl, which I don't think is great next year, for the given fact that this team's gonna not be an eyesore to watch on offense next year. Like if
Oh
they're
my
just
god!
a more
Every day of
favorable
the
watch,
week, I'd make
I would
that
trade like
trade.
Yeah.
if I was told like their ceiling is a NFC divisional or conference championship round appearance, but you're not winning a Super Bowl, but this is going to be
A fun,
more enjoyable to watch.
enjoyable
I would take that
Fast
experience.
trade at the
paced.
end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were brutal, man. It was hard to enjoy
Mhm.
any game of theirs last year, besides like the Vikings game.
Yeah. And I
Totally
think
agree.
that's the hope. And I think that's like, and also I do think that the offensive line health will be better this year, knock on wood,
Definitely, yeah.
which is going to change a lot of things for the pass and run game. But yeah, I think that's the vision. And I, yeah, I think they're doing the right thing. And I think like from a 10,000-foot view, you can really like start to see the direction they're going. And now I really think it just comes down to Jalen and like Ryan, as you said, him buying into the system, but then him also executing and making those
Yeah,
quick
it's
reads.
gonna
And
be up to him and Mannion. Like if Mannion's who
yeah,
we kind of think he is through this early OTA kind of portion of the year, I think it's been only positive things that have come out. And I think the most interesting piece of that is through Jalen specifically. If you see his clips talking about Patullo versus Mannion, they're night and day different. Like you could tell, and I think a lot of people, myself included, probably wrote it off as like I mean, I wasn't particularly excited ever about Patullo being the guy as our OC, but I think when Jalen speaks, you can write it off a lot as like, oh, that's just kind of the way he is. Like, he's not going to give you much. But it's not like he's breaking any news when he's talking now, but you can just tell there's much more excitement and optimism from his point of view about this current kind of regime.
Yeah. What's like a realistic expectation for this Eagles team next season?
I mean, I still think,
yeah,
I was going to say, I still think they're probably the best team in the division. The Cowboys will have a great offense as usual. I have a lot of questions about that defense. The Commanders Commanders still feel like a very like patchwork kind of team around Daniels. Very old in a lot of spots still. So I definitely don't expect them to be like a real threat. Although
what about America's quarterback?
Holy shit.
Yeah, the Giants are,
let's go.
Yeah, we didn't bring up the fact that the Giants brought in a trio of the most washed up wide receivers you could possibly name, and Odell, Juju Smith, and Braxton Berrios all in the same day.
What about Malik rounding the bases?
Yeah, let's speak on that video of him getting down the line like a fucking 70-year-old.
I'm worried about him, man.
Yeah, I think the Giants were like a very like sexy pick to like kind of shock a lot of people and make a run this year, but I think we might be in for more of a laugher from the Giants this year than anything. And then for looking at the NFC as a whole, like I expect obviously Rams, Seattle, even the Niners, like the whole NFC West really is going to be pretty good besides the Cardinals as usual. The South will be the South. And
Special Carson Beck? Oh.
Yeah, well,
it's possible.
And then the North is going to be great as well. Like I expect the Eagles to kind of be in that second to third tier in the NFC after the Rams and after the Seahawks, probably kind of battling with the Bears and the Packers and those teams.
Also for the Eagles, like I think you're right. I think they're still set up to be, atop the NFC East and be a good playoff team. But also, like, I think in a weird way, this is like a in-between year where it might be a situation like the Sixers where, like, the VJ and Maxey thing started to look special. And it's just like, we can just enjoy this for a bit.
Yeah.
This is just like a cool new thing that's happening. And, like, we don't have to worry about, like, the playoff sort of scariness and all of that.
There's stuff to be excited about. Like, you have a new receiver and, like, kind of the addition of subtraction with just the overall vibes of the team. Like with AJ, it was literally something every week. Like it was like he's playing poorly, like he's dropping balls, he's half-assing routes and moping, but then it's like he's tweeting, he's going on a live stream, winking at Julian Edelman, like it's just all that stuff being gone.
That was just crazy. I forgot about
going to feel better. It's just going to feel better not having to watch that every week.
Yeah, but alas, AJ Brown is no longer a Philadelphia Eagle, and we can all fucking move on with our lives.
Yes.
Any other words on either of those two traits?
Nah, I mean, that's the gospel right there.
Special. Beck, did you want to talk about aspiration?
Yeah, now that we're at the point, not really. But Yusuf Nurkic, yeah, you're really weird, dude. That's all I got to say here.
Why is Nurkic really weird?
He called Mike Budenholzer an alcoholic.
And... Oh, I saw that.
Yeah.
Also, just
special.
Not the guy, not the messenger.
He sucks.
Yeah,
he like actually sucks.
Player pods are like one of the wildest things happening.
Yeah, we have a little bit too many.
I think which is like funny for me to say, but I think there's just like guys.
It's funny for us to say.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's just guys that like get a little
that we
too
don't need to hear from.
Yeah. Just give me B-Head and Teague and everybody else
from playoff P. He understood and he shut his shit down.
Special. So also again, so funny for us being the ones that
bullying works.
But like Paul George, you're not gonna get like anything that's gonna like move mountains or make
controversial.
And controversial is exactly what I'm looking for. I feel like if you put a microphone in front of Yusuf Nurkic for like another hour, you could get another fucking crazy comment.
You get something insane.
The longer he's in front of the microphone, the worse. Like it's not good for anybody. Yeah. And for himself.
Yeah. Michael Porter Jr. type shit.
Yeah, but Porter Jr. is like just an idiot, stupid funny. Like I think Nurkic is good.
Dude, Michael Porter Jr. is crazy on the mic.
Yeah,
Also just
I think it's funny if it's
yeah.
not your team.
Yeah, exactly.
If it's your team, it's like, please stop, Michael.
Yeah, it's like we can't have this, man. Lana Rhodes can't have it, Ron.
But he's not like going at anybody. I think like Nurkic has
He's just talking
feelings
about like cracking porn stars.
that
like, all right.
yeah. If he could get out, he
No,
is
that's
like vitriol for
definitely
a lot
tough.
of people.
Yeah.
Like Porter Jr. is just like hilariously dumb.
It's unreal, dude. But folks, we have the NBA Finals Wednesday. Beck and I have the Knicks as of right now. I might change before the game.
Don't do it.
And Ryan has the Spurs. Special. Can't wait to get into it. Also, we'll have more NFL news throughout training camp and as we get closer and closer to the season. Can't wait to start doing some off-season predictions and things like that. But 50 in the books. Thank you everyone for sticking in with us. 50 for the city. Ginge Ball out. Oh.